Welcome to NFL World, where the NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob, and welcome to the NFL Dream. And now in the NFC South, we're going to go to Carolina and talk about the Carolina Panthers. Now, there were some moves they made in free agency that were very appealing for what they were trying to accomplish. They were not good defensively. They had to fix some things. They brought in Trayshawn Wharton, from the Chiefs, a very underrated player who played pretty well last year in 2024. They brought back Michael Jackson. No, not the singer. He's in the ground. Don't worry about him. Former Cowboy, former Seahawk. They brought him. He went to Carolina. They brought him back. That's a big deal. On a 2-year deal. He's going to help out J.C. Horn. They extended J.C. Horn 4-year contract worth $100 million, $70 million guaranteed. Trayvon Merrick, the former Raider, he comes over. He's going to replace Xavier Woods. Pat Jones, the linebacker, former Viking, 2-year contract. Bobby Brown III, former Ram, he comes over as a free agent. Is supposed to take over. How do I say this? He's going to help out in the interior. That's the best way I can describe what he's going to do. Tommy Tremble, 2-year contract extension. Rico Dowdle, the former Cowboy, he comes over 1-year deal, $3 million. David Moore, he sticks with the Panthers on a 1-year deal. Brady Christensen, offensive tackle, he sticks with the Panthers. Austin Corbett, he resigns. Sam Martin comes over after they lost Johnny Hecker in free agency. We'll get into that. Dan, I believe it's pronounced Christina. He's staying with the Panthers. Christian Roseboom, the linebacker, he comes over from the Rams. Nick Scott also comes over. Stays with the Panthers, but was a former Ram as well. Looking at the Panthers draft picks, really, looking at what they did well. First of all, home run. They nailed the first pick, Tetairoa McMillan. Big body, plays above the rim, uses aggressiveness, athleticism, and all those things you want an offensive player to do, especially at wide receiver at his size. I gotta tell you, I didn't think he was going to Carolina. I thought, no, there's no way he goes to Carolina. And he did. And I was like, wow, that's a great weapon for Bryce Young. And it also adds a question. There's a lot of people there now. You have McMillan, you have Thielen, that are very similar guys. McMillan's more of, that's kind of what Thielen, Thielen's role was on this team. So there's a little bit of a concern with that. But I think it will mesh very well. And it's going to help Bryce Young out a lot. In round 2, Nick Scorton, the edge from Texas A&M. I like that pick a lot too. They nailed these 2 picks. They really did a nice job. In round 3, I love this pick too. Princely Umanamila. An edge rusher from Ole Miss. I like that pick. He was very talented. Round 4, Trevor Etienne, Travis Etienne's brother from Georgia. They got him in round 4. Lathan Ransom, the safety from Ohio State, also in round 4. Round 5, Cam Jackson, defensive tackle from Florida, and Mitchell Evans, tight end from Notre Dame. In round 6, because they did not have a round 7, they selected Jimmy Horn Jr., the wide receiver from Colorado. So they did a lot of work. Jimmy Horn, for an example, he's mostly just a special teamer. He's a kick return specialist. That's what he's good at. That's what you only want him to be that. So that's perfect for you. Now, the people they lost in free agency, the Johnny Hecker one really stings, I think. It stings. Because, let me type this in better. Okay. The Johnny Hecker one really, it bothers me. It really does. So, because he was there for so long, him going to Tennessee is a big loss. Milton Williams, they had said, oh, we're going to sign him, and they made a big plan, and they were going to get him, and then next thing you know, he signs with New England. You're like, what happened? So that's kind of why Trayshawn Wharton was brought in. They lost Miles Sanders. They released him to clear up some cap space, but also he wasn't very good for them. Which, again, we'll see if he makes his new team's roster tomorrow, because there will be a lot of cuts tomorrow. Stay tuned for that. Lonnie Johnson, the safety, signed with the Raiders. His contract expired. No big names in terms of losses. And so you're okay with that. Now, looking at the record, they were 5-12 last year. They were not a very good team. But they played decently well in certain games. For an example, the one that comes to my head is Philadelphia. They played Philadelphia very well. That, again, scoring's a concern. That's why I like the Tedora McMillan move. This is a guy who can play above the rim, like I said. He can run by you. He has underrated speed. He's very talented in that way. His releases are very good. And when I'm talking about speed and his releases are how he starts his route, he has to get around that corner in some way. And he has a very instinctive release that he uses. But his instinct isn't like, okay, I'm always going to do this. His instinct is, I'm looking at what you're going to do and immediately adjust on the fly, like that. And that's what he does. Again, this team won 29% of their games last year, 29.4%. They were 3-6 at home. They were 2-6 on the road. They won the last game, but they were in games all the time. They were in games. This was not like year one of Bryce Young. This was year two, and he looked a lot better. Year one, I thought this was a kid who was just concerned. He didn't know what he was doing. He had no idea. In this game, he looked like he understood everything in a much better way. The beginning of the year, no. Then he got benched. Then after the Andy Dalton accident that he suffered with his family, which happy everyone was okay, he came back with a vengeance. It did what the Panthers wanted it to do for him, in the sense of it reinvigorated him. It gave him confidence that he could go in off the bench and go make a play. And then he was playing like it. He was playing like a guy who got a second chance and wasn't going to waste it. That's what he did. Don't get me wrong, there were certain things he did that were not perfect. He's still a young guy. He's still young. He's going to have to mold it. But in terms of what he did very well, like, again, the game against Philadelphia, they almost won that game. They almost won. That was impressive. They were in games. That was so impressive. And from a year before, they were not even competitive. Now they were competitive. They just only won 5 games, but they were competitive. Looking at the Panthers schedule for 2025, look, again, is it going to be perfect? No. They technically finished third in their division, so they're going to have a third place schedule. But there's a lot of good things I think they can do. at Jacksonville, at Arizona, home for the Falcons in week 3, at New England, at Miami, or home for Miami, and home at Dallas. Home for Dallas. Okay. So through 6 weeks, I think Miami is going to be tough. Yes, it's in Carolina, but it's going to be warm. So I think that's a tough game. I think Dallas is a tough game because I don't think they mesh against Dallas very well. I think what Dallas can do with their blitzing, and that's something that Eberflus loves to do, is he loves to blitz. So let's look at that. Vrabel that in New England would be very interesting, in my opinion. But you can win a couple of these games here. Then you're at the Jets in week 7. Week 8, you're at you're home for Buffalo, my bad. At Green Bay, home for New Orleans, at Atlanta, at San Francisco, home for the Rams. Bye week 14. Bye weeks are late this year for the Panthers, which is not great for them. But I think for this team, the adversity they have to go through, it's almost more beneficial for them to do it. Because then they go on the road, they're at New Orleans. Home for Tampa Bay, home for Seattle, at Tampa at the end of the year. To have your bye week, the first week of December is tough as it is, but it's also beneficial for them. I'm curious to see how they play certain teams, especially New England and Dallas, because they struggled with Dallas the last 2 years. New England, I think, is a lot better than they were previously, but I'm curious to see. That's actually going to be a very interesting battle. May versus Bryce. Drake May versus Bryce Young is going to be very interesting, in my opinion. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think the Carolina Panthers will be better than last year? To me, I don't know if they're a playoff team. I don't think they are. But I do think they can win some games. And looking at their schedule, looking at the weak spots of their schedule, I see a team that can win 8 games. 8 games, which is improving. It's not perfect, but it's improving. The roster was not very good to begin. And when Bryce Young got here, the roster was still not very good. But they turned a little corner last year. You gotta appreciate that. So yes, I see this team going 8-9 at its highest peak. Maybe 7-10 at its lowest. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Do the Carolina Panthers in 2025 win more than 6 games? Let me know in the comments. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Huber. Out.